Morning again, everyone, and thank you for joining us. So I will introduce myself. My name is Gael, and I'm working for ACR Plus. We're a network of cities and regions trying to boost circular economy on their territory, or not trying, aiming to. And we are organizing this webinar in the framework of the Biocircularcities project. This is the third episode of the trilogy that started before the summer break to present the Biocircularity project and its outcomes. After first episode focusing on the approach adopted by the partnership to support the transition of the pilots towards circular bioeconomy, and also a second one on the tool that has been developed to support the identification of the most suitable biocircular technologies for improving bio-waste management, we are here today to hear from the 3 pilot territories of the project who will share their experience on how they boosted the circular bioeconomy at their level, at local level. We will be together for an hour and a half, and we have the following presentation on the menu, so you can see the agenda. First, we will hear the 3 pilots, then there will be a discussion, a little roundtable, and then you have time for your questions. For a smooth session, I would like to quickly cover a few housekeeping rules. So today's webinar is recorded so that more people can watch it afterwards. We will share the link with you after the events, together with the presentations. So you can revisit the content yourself. You can share it with your colleagues. We warmly invite you to comment, to ask questions. But for that, we will keep them for the end, at the end of the webinar. So we'll first hear the presentation from the speakers and then answer your question. If you think of a question at any time, just type it in the chat box and we will hold it for this discussion portion at the end of the event. Or you can also, when it will be the time, raise your hand and we'll open your microphone and give you the floor. Because indeed, all your microphones are muted. So when you want to speak, you raise the hand or you write in the chat. We can also enable your webcam. That is the same. It's been disabled. Now, before giving the floor to my colleague, Jean-Benoit, who will be moderating this session today, we invite you to discover the project in the short video. So let me know if in case it's not running, and it's always okay.
We are producing a huge amount of bio-waste. Every year in the EU, about 130 million tons of bio-waste are generated, and 20% of the food produced is lost. Preventing overproduction and losses over the food supply chain is a priority. Yet, if part of this bio-waste is unavoidable, it is luckily also highly valuable. With efficiently separated bio-waste, it is now possible to produce energy, textiles, plastics, chemicals, and even pharmaceuticals or nutraceutical bioproducts. This valorization of unavoidable bio-waste is one of the pillars of what we call circular bioeconomy. But what is it exactly? Bioeconomy is an economy based on renewable resources from the land and the sea. It becomes circular when nothing is lost and when bio-waste is recycled in a sustainable way. Could a circular bioeconomy become the norm? With the Biocircularcities project, we think it is possible. This innovative European-funded project explores the full potential of circular bioeconomy by investigating economically and environmentally efficient models for food, agricultural, or forestry waste. 3 pilot territories will identify the opportunities and barriers of different bio-waste management value chains. In the Metropolitan Area of Barcelona, we will evaluate the implementation of door-to-door or smart bin collection systems. This will improve captured quantity and quality of municipal bio-waste to produce high-quality bioproducts. In addition, it involves increasing both citizens and political commitment to reduce food waste. In the Metropolitan City of Naples, We will foster the cooperation of the many important agri-food industries by mapping the generated bio-waste. The objective is to identify opportunities of industrial symbiosis and improve the current waste management system. The rural region of Pazardzhik needs a larger deployment of circular bioeconomy to tackle unexploited bio-waste from agriculture and forestry sectors. In addition to awareness campaigns, we will investigate energy production and lignocellulosic valorization to produce biochemicals. In all three territories, local living labs bring together local stakeholders, researchers, experts, and practitioners to build common visions and tools. Local experiences and exchanges with key players of the bioeconomy will feed guidelines and policy recommendations, supporting innovative regulatory frameworks and roadmaps for a circular bioeconomy across all Europe. An online tool will also assist policymakers and industry in designing bio-waste management strategies. The goal is to reveal the full potential of circular bioeconomy for a better environment and to improve local growth. Let's team up and make circular bioeconomy the new model.
Oh, a few minutes. Okay, so I think that now you should have, sorry, I will skip here, a better idea of
We are producing
what the project is about, and I can imagine you can't wait to hear from our pilot. So I'll give the floor to Jean-Benoit, and soon it will be the three pilots that will share their experience. Thank you.
Well, hello everyone, and it's my time to welcome you to this last webinar of Biocircularcities project. And just you had the video, so obviously now you know more about the project. Okay, can we get the slide again, please? I'll give you just a very short introduction about the project, and then we'll move on to the star of the day, the three pilot territories. And just to give you a brief addition to what the video showed you. So the Biocircularcities project started 2 years ago and is ending this month. So it's the final rush where we are aiming to share with you all the findings of the project, including those webinars. And what we've been doing for the past 2 years is to investigate in those three territories, but also across Europe, the key barriers and recommendations that we could formulate to boost local circular bioeconomy principles, and try to make those results available in different outcomes, including a web tool that was mentioned in the video. And you can find in the link that Gail shared a webinar showing the result of the web tool. So with this web tool, you can identify relevant technological routes for many different bioresidues, including municipal bio-waste, but also agri-food waste or forestry waste, for you to check what could be interesting recycling technologies for those different fractions. And a very short introduction of the three pilot areas that will be introduced today and that will detail their journey in the project. First one is the Metropolitan Area of Barcelona. So they focused mostly on municipal bio-waste and how to improve the separate collection and how to make more of the sorted food waste. We have also the Metropolitan City of Naples, and they focused on a very specific fraction here of agro-industrial organic waste, which is the coffee roasting residues that we call coffee silver skin, to do a functional ingredient out of them. And the last territory, and not the least, is the province of Pazardzhik in Bulgaria. And the other focus was quite different also, and that are called forestry residues, to better understand what could be done with those forestry residues. So you'll get more details now, and we'll start right now with the presentation of the pilot, starting with Laura Martinez. A quick introduction, Laura. Many thanks for being with us. So you're an environmental consultant holding a degree in biology from the University of Barcelona. And you've been working for quite a few years on the Barcelona metropolitan area as a waste management specialist, also giving support to the current waste management plan and waste prevention plan. And today you will tell us about your journey with the Biocircularcities project. So the floor is yours. Again, thanks a lot for being here with us.
Okay, thank you, Jean-Benoit. I will share the presentation. Okay, I think everybody can see the presentation now. Good morning to you all. My name is Laura, and I will present the journey of the Metropolitan Area Pilot. As you may know, or maybe not from the other webinar, the Metropolitan Area of Barcelona has focused on incentivizing quality and quantity of municipal biowaste separate collected. Okay. First, I will start with a short introduction about the Metropolitan Area of Barcelona. It is one of the most populated in Europe. More than 3,200,000 people lives in his 600 square kilometers, and it holds the 42% of the total population of Catalonia. Industrial and service are the main economy, but tourism has also high economic importance. It is formed by 36 municipalities with competence on waste collection, and the AMB, the Metropolitan Area of Barcelona, is the supramunicipal administration responsible for the waste treatment. 1,475,000 tons of waste are produced every year. The current situation is that biowaste, separate collected, is transported to the treatment plant. In this pilot, we use a plant that is called EcoPark 2. It's an MBT plant. Biowaste after pretreatment to separate impurities undergoes to anaerobic digestion to produce biogas and digestate. The collection system is open containers. That means that the quality of the biowaste is low. Impurities are around 15%. The alternative scenario that we were proposed is that, okay, at the beginning, we introduce food waste prevention measures to reduce the quantity of the biowaste produced. To improve the quality and the quantity of the biowaste collected, we use more efficient systems as door-to-door or smart bins. Then the biowaste goes to pretreatment and undergoes also to anaerobic digestion. But in this case, biogas is upgraded to biomethane, and this biomethane is used for the gas network or can also use to fuel the waste trucks. On all this journey, stakeholders have been a very valuable contributors to the projects. We focus on a multi-actor contribution. So we choose stakeholders with different professional backgrounds. We choose people from local administration, regional administration, SMEs, researchers, educational representatives, and environmental consultants. We invite them by mail, okay? And 3 living labs and one final event was held. 2 living labs, were online events, and 1 living lab and the final event were presential. During the online living labs, to do the dynamics, we use tools as Miro and Slido. And on the presential event, we use that for the dynamics, we use either work groups or round tables. Okay, as you can see, happy stakeholders participating in the living labs. And this is the Miro, and this is a Slido. Okay, in each of the living labs, different topics were discussed, and stakeholders provide really valuable feedback on each of the living labs. They help us to identify the challenge of the waste management. They also help us with best practice already in place, and to find the drivers and barriers of the bioeconomic implementation. And then they give us feedback on the LCC and LCA analysis, and also on the web tool prototype. Some of the main inputs from the stakeholders were that it could be easier to treat biowaste if the quality is good. Biowaste is a field with a lot of future that may not have been highlighted yet. They say that they think that technologies are ready, but that means that a lot of money must be invested and work should be done to reach the market. And in the case of the web tool, they suggest that to extend the use of the web tool to other case studies, it would be important to strengthen the technical characterization of technologies. For example, splitting each technology into different variants. Also to add more choices of technologies and to add a detailed analysis of the political context, in particular the available economic incentives. And if we talk now about the status of the implementation, AMB is really focusing on improving the quality of the biowaste separate collected. Actually, for municipalities collect the biowaste with door-to-door systems. 3 municipalities collect biowaste with smart bins. And like 3 municipalities have not all the city or all the towns, but only some neighborhoods using a smart bin or door-to-door collection. So AMB is really trying to push the municipalities to change their collecting systems. Also, we are working on a new collection taxes based on participation on the biowaste collection. And for the upgrading to biomethane, it's not implemented yet, but we are trying to hit that way. So for the main conclusions and lessons learned during all this journey, it's that, okay, food prevention measures would help to reduce the quantity of biowaste collected. It is said that maybe between 5%, 10%. Improving the quality of the biowaste separately collected must be one of the focus points. New regulation to make more efficient collecting systems, door-to-door or smart bins, compulsory is needed, or regulation to ban open containers. LCC and LCA play a significant role in there to choose the best technology to treat the biowaste stream. In the decision-making process, when we ask the stakeholders about if they take into consideration the environmental impact associated with the technology, this reflected the diversity of background of the stakeholder. That means that the ones that are more near the political decision, they use this tool. They will use this tool sometimes, and that one that are technicals or environmental consultant, they will use this tool. They say they will use this tool always. The web tool prototype could be a good tool to help choosing the right technology. And for the online meetings or the stakeholders, it has been a bit difficult to engage stakeholders from private companies. And online events tend to have more participants, but they are less engaged on the debate, while if they are presential, the debate is much easier. So this is all from the journey of AMB, and thank you very much. And it's all yours, Jean-Benoit.
Thanks, Laura. I will get back to you after the presentation to have more discussions about some specific topics. But for now, we'll give the floor to Angelo Venezia from the Metropolitan City of Naples. So just a quick introduction of Angelo. He has a degree in nuclear engineering, and he's been working for more than 20 years in the Metropolitan Area of Naples. And he's an expert in many different fields, including renewable energy, wastewater management, waste management. And today he's here to tell us about how the Metropolitan City of Naples participated in the project and what they learned from it, and then the follow-up activities. So Angelo, many thanks for being here. The floor is yours. And I'll give you the floor then.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jean-Benoit. Hi, everyone. I'm Angelo Venezia from Metropolitan City of Naples, and now my presentation. Okay, here is my presentation. Okay, a brief description of Metropolitan City of Naples, who took over from the province of Naples in 2014. Metropolitan City of Naples has 92 municipalities, including the city of Naples, has 3 optimal territorial areas: Naples 1, Naples 2, and Naples 3, has more than 3 million of inhabitants, so like area of Barcelona. The data of waste are from APAC, is a regional environmental protection agency of Campania. These data are 2019, and we have total municipality solid waste approximately 1,500,000 tons. Of which not separated collection is approximately 800,000 tons, and separate is approximately 700,000. So of this separate, the bio waste is approximately 300,000. And here we can see the composition of the waste. And we have papers 8%, glass 5%, and bio waste is 20% of the solid waste. The waste diagram of the actual situation, we have that paper, plastic, glass is recycling. The bio waste, some part after anaerobic digestion and composting, it becomes compost, or it goes to incineration to obtain heat and electricity. While the residual waste, it goes to mechanical biological treatment, and we obtain goes to incineration to obtain recovered materials. Metropolitan City of Naples focus on coffee silver skin from coffee roasting. Coffee silver skin, it's about 90% of the bio waste generating during the roasting. We have the representation of the skin and the silver skin after the roasting of the beans. The business of the usual scenario is this. We have the bio waste from coffee roasting, and after collection and transportation, we have it goes to composting 50%, and the other to incineration. We have losses. The alternative scenario that we have studied, we can obtain that after the production of the bio waste, collection and transportation of it, and some operation of sterilization sieving, washing, drying, and homogenization, we can obtain a functional ingredient for baked goods. It approximately it studied 95%, and only 5% it goes to incineration. And so the conclusion of this investigation is that the alternative scenario turns out to be most sustainable thanks to the benefits deriving from the avoided production of fluor. The most impacting processes are electricity, consumption, and transportation, and the alternative scenario results to be more economically convenient than the business as usual in terms of saving in both bio-waste disposal costs and environmental remediation costs. And these results suggest increasing the use of renewable energy and low consumption machinery, having local treatment facilities, less transport, and they are more economically convenient solution than the public system for disposing of bio-waste for the agro-industrial sector. Stakeholder involvement. Stakeholder involvement during all the living labs in Naples and the final stakeholder events which took in Naples in June were from industrial and research dimension, active in the field of agro-industrial bio-waste and especially in the coffee supply chain. Interaction with them for collecting data for the two scenarios under analysis, the business usual and alternative scenario, and for general info in the Metropolitan Area of Naples, identification of good practice, BCC web tools, policy recommendation. Then we have also local administrators, environmental organization and energies agencies, small, medium-sized enterprise association, education authority and representative. This is the photo of first and second living lab. This is because first and second were took in online for COVID, and the second and third living lab were in presence. This is photo in Metropolitan City of Naples, the discussion we have there, and the photo of the final stakeholder events in Naples in presence. Status of implementation. Key stakeholder identified and involved. What should be done next? Policy improvement based on BCC policy recommendation and project outcomes. Further analysis obtained during the project peer review by external experts, meeting with stakeholders to adopt energy on implementation of the project outcomes. Main conclusion and lesson learned. Stakeholders are a willingness to take into consideration the environment aspect for selecting bio-waste recovery or valorization technology. Criticalities have been identified depending on the type and role of decision maker, public administration, technician, entrepreneur. The stakeholders are always concerned about the bureaucracy to be implemented in order to acquire the necessary environmental authorizations. Life cycle assessment and the life cycle cost are considered very useful for improving the environmental and economic performance of the organic waste chain analyzed. LCA results should be transparent, effective, and clear. It's important to focus on environmental aspects and not only locally, but also globally. More incentives are needed, and it's important to have more streamlined authorization procedures. Main conclusion, web tools is useful because it would make it possible to identify the best system for the best treatment related to a specific waste. It's possible to obtain various types of information, technical, environmental, economic. Limitation of the tools are that it needs the collection of prior information, and it's available only in one language. It should be simplified to be user-friendly and improve the graphical representation. To extend the use of webtool to other case studies would be important, strengthen technical characterization of technologies and having more choice of it. An analysis of policy context, economic incentives, and a combination with collaboration development tools, mapping of the stakeholders. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Angelo, for your presentation. And we'll end with the last presentation of the pilot territories with Georgi Simenov. Is representing the Regional Energy Agency of Pazardzhik in Bulgaria. And just a short introduction of Georgi. He has a master's degree in international relations, and he's now the project coordinator at REAP. And he has expertise in renewable energy, but also in multi-stakeholder approaches. And today he will tell us a bit more about that with the journey of the Province of Pazardzhik in the Biocircularcities project. So Georgi, the floor is yours. Many thanks in advance for your presentation.
Thank you, Jean-Benoit, for this excellent introduction of the project and also of myself. I also want to thank to all the participants for their interest in our project. Just quickly to share my screen and start the presentation. Okay, my name is Georgi Simenov. I'm working in REAP in last several years. I will present you our outcomes from Bulgarian pilot in biocircular cities. Just quickly about our territory. It's unlike the other two pilot regions where we had typical urban territories with very high density of population with a lot of people. Now we have the third pilot, which is Province of Pazardzhik, which is typical rural region. We have 12 self-governing municipalities here on our region. It's about 4,400 square kilometers, and it represents 4% of the national country surface, and with population about 270,000 inhabitants, which is about 65 inhabitants per square kilometer. Key points about our region: even more than 56% are covered by forests, and about 36% of our lands are agricultural lands. As I mentioned, it's a typical rural region with a large share of unexploited bio-waste coming from the agriculture and forestry sectors. Some other key findings related to waste management in our region: it's a separate collection of bio-waste in the region of Pazardzhik as well as in Bulgaria in general. It is at its infant stage and only few pilot projects are in place. A few months ago, a contemporary regional depot for composting and pre-treatment of household waste was opened near the city of Pazardzhik. It services 7 municipalities from our region, and we have really very good opportunities for the development of sustainable agro-energy chains based on local agricultural residues and local agri-industrial wastes. Some further elements, some key findings about our region. I would like to draw your attention on this diagram. When we produced this diagram, it was about 2 years ago when we started the project, so apologies for the data inside is a little bit outdated, but anyway, I want to draw your attention here on the volume of landfill waste, municipal waste. The total generated municipal waste is about 93,000 tons per year, and you can see that 79 thousand tons of this generated municipal waste is landfilled. This is really huge percentage which we are fighting in the recent years to decrease and to try to increase significantly the share of recycled municipal waste, also the pre-treatment and separation of the municipal waste, and eventually the composting. On the lower part of this diagram is the information about wood residues, about biomass coming from forests in our region. About 60% of wood biomass is used to produce wooden fuel. Mainly, of course, this is pellets and wood chips. And about 35%, according to our estimations, remain in the forest unused, and some small is used for composting, some small share. Of course, this large share is due to different factors which we cannot influence a lot. Our region has a lot of mountains, and of course the forests are located in these mountains where it's very hard to access and to export the remaining wood biomass from the forest. Now the few words about the selected chain in Pazardzhik province. Of course, it is related to the forest's wood biomass remaining. The business as usual scenario, as according to the business as usual scenario, part of the forest residues is treated to produce pellet and wood chips, about 60%, and compost just 5%. But a significant quantity, more than 30%, still remains in the forest unused. For this reason, what can we do? What is changing compared to the current situation? According to feedback which we received from some forest experts during Biocircular project, we analyzed the conversion of 25% of the unused forest residues into products with high added value by biochemicals through the lignocellulosic valorization process in a biorefinery plant, or second option was thermal and electricity energy in a combined heat and power plant, CHP plant. It is important to underline that according to the guidelines for sustainable forestry management, it is recommended that a percentage, some small share of forest residues between 10 to 20% should be left on the soil in order to safeguard the forest ecosystem. Therefore, it is important to keep in mind that the 25% is the highest percentage of unused residues that we can remove from the forest and to use in our valorization processes. In detail, the two investigated alternative scenario during the project, our work package 2 leader, Enea, prepared a very nice and detailed analysis along life cycle assessment and life cycle costing analysis, both presented to our stakeholders. It was very nice and detailed. In these studies, we found out that they were derived from the scientific literature from specific LCA databases. In the first case, we analyzed the energy valorization in order to produce electricity and heat in combined heat and power. And in the second case, we analyzed the production through the biorefinery process of different biochemicals, such as ethylovulinate, succic acid, and 1,4-butanediol. These are very specific biochemicals. When the three scenarios are compared, the results for the alternative scenarios result to be more advantages from the environmental point of view. In particular, the biorefinery scenario shows higher potential environment benefits than the CHP scenario in almost all investigated impact categories. Some conclusions from those. I apologize for such a long bracket about these two analyses, but they were very important for our local community and for our stakeholders. And I want to point out some conclusions from these two analyses in our regional chain. The biorefinery scenario turns out to be the most sustainable thanks to the benefits deriving from production of bio-based chemicals. The greatest environmental advantages come from the avoided production of fossil 1.4 butanediol, and the highest impact is due to electricity consumption. The valorization of 25% of currently unused forest waste through its conversion into biochemicals would allow to quadruple the economic benefits, considering both the earnings from all the valorization activities and the saving of environmental remediation costs. These results suggest that increasing the production of bio-based chemicals and increasing the use of renewable energy and of low energy consumption machinery. Stakeholder involvement in Pazardzhik, it was a very nice and long process to work with and involve stakeholders. Of course, on first position, it was very important to involve our local administrations. These are the 12 municipalities which I mentioned earlier forming the region. Also some forestry managers from municipal administration, environmental organizations and energy agencies. SMEs associations were also very important stakeholders for us. Regional administration of our region, education authorities, we had some very nice discussions with them on how we can improve educational curricular in schools to start from very early age on teaching the kids on how to say, for example, separate collection of waste, etc. Regional environmental of water and inspection stakeholders were providing valuable feedback on main project outputs such as LCA and LCC analysis of the forestry biomass value chain, identification of good practices, also about the Biocircular web tool and policy recommendations activities. Some nice photos from the living clubs. The first 3 living clubs were organized online, and we organized physically only the final dissemination event, where we organized also a nice public debate after the event. On the first living lab, we obtained valuable feedback about the general situation of bio-waste management not only in the region of Pazardzhik, but also in Bulgaria, about municipal waste generation, forestry management, etc. While the second 2 living clubs were more dedicated to the forestry management and to the waste coming from our forests. Some pictures from the final stakeholder event in Pazardzhik with the public debate which we organized after it. Status of the implementation, of course, the stakeholder group in our region is already established, and we really want to continue working with this group. And of course, it is an open committee where more stakeholders can join us, but we should continue working even beyond the Biocircular project ends. What should be done next? Policy improvement. Similarly to our colleagues from Naples, we would like to stress on the policy improvement based on the policy recommendations coming from Biocircularities and based also on project outcomes such as the life cycle assessment and costing analysis. Further analysis obtained during the project peer review by external experts should be carried out. We are taking this into consideration at the moment with our stakeholders. And meetings should be organized with them further to adopt a strategy on implementation of the project outcomes related to Pazardzhik province. Main conclusions, sorry for so much text, I will go through it quickly. Main conclusions and main lessons learned during these 2 years of Biocircular There was a variety of experts from Bulgaria, from our region, participating in the different project events. Many public administrations joined the event, not only local, not only from our region, but also from other remote regions and regional and national administrations. NGOs were very active, SMEs, associations, and educational authorities. Majority of stakeholders acknowledge that LCA and LCC analysis of the selected value chain in our region can play a significant role in the process of policy development of local and regional administrations, especially when policies are in the area of environment protection and waste management. Some considerations and also interesting proposals have been given by experts in regards to municipal bio-waste management during the 3 living labs which we organized. The Biocircularcities web tool created also a large interest, and some experts pointed out that future updates will be needed, like the maintenance of this interesting and useful tool would be important so as to update the technical database with most actual and contemporary technologies. Most of the public administration representatives acknowledge they can use it within the decision-making process of waste management at local and regional level. Some further conclusions and lessons which we learned during these 2 years, as according to some experts from our region, they pointed out that the technology barriers as major challenge towards the larger utilization of bio-waste, which is again to prove the need of tools like Biocircularcities web tool and usefulness of analysis which are undertaken by project activities. Again, LCC and LCA analysis should be initiated before the start of a large environmental and bio-waste management project. After we presented this analysis, some experts showed really significant interest in it and asked for the detailed analysis performed by the Biocircularities project of the selected bio-waste chain. So we are considering now the option to translate these large works which we done during the project. Education authorities representatives pointed out of the importance of starting to address the topic of recycling and separate collection of waste and bio-waste at a very early age. They mentioned that teachers are already working hard in order to address the topic in schools and provided some examples, like some locally implemented projects through different EU programs. The participants in the round table acknowledge that both analysis can play a very important role in the decision-making process of municipal and regions which have large forest stocks. Similarly to Pazardzhik province in Bulgaria, we have also other regions which have really significant forest stocks, and our outcomes of the project of Biocircularities project can be used in those remote regions. And from my side, I think this is the short overview of what we done together with partners from Biocircularities and together with our stakeholders here in Bulgaria. I would like to thank you for your attention, and we can move in the next.
Well, thanks a lot, Georgie, for your nice presentation, and thank you all three for sharing with us your experience with the project. Whenever anyone had a question, just feel free to write it in the chat or raise your hand. But in the meantime, before we take questions, we can have a small discussion. So I propose to have something a bit more relaxed, a bit more informal maybe, and see if you've got shared views or conflicting views of the different aspects of the project. And the first thing we can discuss maybe is the stakeholder engagement. That was really something critical in the project. And with it, like you presented some of the key outcomes. I was curious to know if you were already familiar with the process whenever you learned something like very surprising, like you did not expect from them. And maybe tell us a bit more about what you learned from this process whenever there was challenges that you could overcome, or whenever you identify good practices for the stakeholder engagement. And maybe starting with you, Georgie, since you had the floor before. Can you tell us a bit more about those points for stakeholder engagement, and if you've got also advice for the audience?
Yeah, as I already mentioned during my presentation, we had 3 online living clubs organized here, and one physical event with a follow-up activity. It was a round table of stakeholders. We got really very precious feedback from these people on different issues, not only on the selected value chain. For example, we got feedback on legislative barriers and incentives on bio-waste management. That was very important point to understand. First, what are the objectives, targets set it in different legislative documents, and where we are now actually at the moment. It turns out that we have a lot of work to do to meet the objectives set in the legislation, especially at EU level. For example, the target for 2025 in the municipal recycling sector, it's I think 55%, while at the moment when we discuss with our colleagues from the municipalities, we could hardly reach 30%. So it was important for us to understand where we are at the moment, and exactly these living clubs and round tables provided us with this feedback from our stakeholders to understand and to keep the process and to keep the works within biocircular cities and how we can improve this.
Thanks, Angelo. Well, same question for you, and your case was a bit specific because you addressed an industrial value chain, and it's sometimes challenging to involve industrial players as a public authority. So maybe you can tell us more about that too.
Yes, as Georgie said, it's very important the impact of legislation, and so the with the stakeholders to have some input is always is important. It was important also to know new technologies, how it's possible to engage for the bio-waste. It's important for me. And we have a very useful and confront with all the stakeholders. And it was important because we focus on coffee, but we in the metropolitan area of Naples, there is not only coffee industry. There are a lot of industry of different sector that produce bio-waste. And so it's possible to extend this study to other bio-waste. This is, for me, the very important message of this study.
Okay, thank you. Laura, your case is also a bit different because the Metropolitan Area of Barcelona is an operational player in bio-waste management. But maybe you can also tell us a bit more about what you learned, or also the challenges of involving local stakeholders.
Well, the challenges, as I told you, sometimes it's difficult to engage people from private companies. Maybe it's because the timetables of the meetings, or maybe, I don't know, we always think that maybe when you need some advice, maybe we should pay the stakeholders. That would be like then because they know how have to be paid. But anyway, the stakeholders confirmed some of the proposals that the BBC have, and it also point out the importance of the quality of bio-waste. All the stakeholders know that quality is one of the key points to have a good treatment of bio-waste, and also prevention measures. We keep saying that prevention food waste prevention measures is really, really, really important. And yes, they help us to focus on that. Everybody knows that quality is very important, but how to obtain this quality is like, we know that efficient systems have to be put in place, but we need laws to make them compulsory, because if not, it's going to be like a long way. And they also help us to choose the alternative scenario, because at the beginning we wanted to study another change, another add value product, bioproducts, but on the first online meeting, they raised at the point that for municipal waste, for this stream municipal waste, maybe the chosen chain was not working, because you cannot put that in an industrial way, and maybe we should do biomethane, which is the way we go. So yes, very important contribution.
So do you feel like to have local stakeholders all agree on one common message is important for decision making? Like, is it a plus when you go to decision makers to say, okay, this is what everyone says? Like, do you feel that?
Yes, I think that I feel like that, and I think that it's like that everybody knows that we should change the collecting systems. We should change, but everybody knows that it's very difficult, because it involves citizens, and it's really difficult to change some habits and things like that. So what they all say that they need help for the laws. I mean, for the political making decisions. So they really need to get the political part to be involved in these decisions.
Okay, thanks. Maybe another question I had, another discussion we can have is the idea of the project of Biocircular Cities was to have you on one part to bring your actual problems, and experts on the other side talking about policies, environmental impact, costs. Like you all mentioned that the assessment showed that the alternative scenario were better for the environment, but did you feel that this kind of input, which can be very technical, is also useful for decision making? Like, how did you use this kind of technical output for your own value chain and to move forward with the alternative scenario? Laura, if you can maybe start.
Okay. Yeah, I think they're using LCC and LCA analysis. It's going to be a great tool to make for decision makers. How do they explain the LCA and LCC to them? That's the difficult part, because we have to explain it quite plain, not that in that technical way that technicians are used to. But I think at the end, with the LCA, they work really hard, the people who are involved in this work package, to make it easier for everybody to understand. So yes, it's going to be a very important tool to use in future decisions.
And Angelo, on this, like especially on LCA, LCC, life cycle assessment and life cycle cost analysis, did you feel that it was an important part of the project? And do you think that it was easy to share those elements to local stakeholders or to decision makers? Like, how did you assess the importance of the technical expertise for the project?
Yes, for the stakeholders, in particular for the entrepreneur that works in a particular field, it's very important, this message and the study, because they understand how can transform a cost that is the silver skin, that is a bio waste. They can transform in a an earn for them, because they can receive money for the transformation of this. So this is important in particular for who works in that sector, but it's also important for the policies administration, because the reduction, the message of the reduction of bio-waste is always important for all the people. And to give this message is always important.
Okay. And Georgie, same question. Like here, the context is also different with forestry residues. It's something maybe not very widespread, like very known. How did you use the technical output of the project to convince decision makers or stakeholders?
Yes, in our case, it was a very specific topic. It turns out that forestry experts are not so well spread like the others. Obviously, during our living labs and events which we organize, stakeholders confirm that the project outputs, although very technical, they can be a good starting point for the next development of their local and regional strategies. But I would like also to draw the attention to our today's participants of the difficulties to which we met during the collection of data, especially for the LCA and LCC analysis. It was very specific data used in these both studies. Very difficult to find out, in some cases almost impossible. But eventually, with the expertise of our partners from Italy and ENEA, they used some research studies and to adapt the data which we had here at a local level. So very useful outcomes, I would say. As mentioned earlier, some experts, especially from the municipal administrations, were asking for the detailed study which we performed during the Biocircular Cities. So definitely we intend to use the project outcomes also in our future activities.
And were there one specific finding or element that were important for the local stakeholders? I don't know if it's the environmental impact, the improvement, or the economic aspect. Was there something that really attract their attention and tell them maybe we should move forward?
Yeah.
Angelo, yes, yeah.
Yes, I want to say also that the data of the where we work, it's real, because we contact directly the coffee industries in the Metropolitan City of Naples, and this was a big works. So it's a real data to reflect what we can do.
Okay, and maybe coming back to the coffee industry, sometimes it's difficult to make them move, or like the private sector. What kind of what were particularly interesting for them? Like what convinced them that they should maybe invest or at least investigate this new solution?
Because it's a problem for them, coffee skin. In Italy, but also in Europe, bio-waste is always the waste in general is a cause for the industry. So this is the real reason.
Okay.
And in the Metropolitan City of Naples is full of coffee industry. We have I think more than 10 industry. Some very important that produce not only for Italy, but the coffee is exported all over the world. So they are big, and they have a big quantity of silver skin.
Okay. Maybe before we go to the follow-up activities, one word on the challenges. You listed all kind of challenges and barriers. If you have one specific challenge that you think is something you need to overcome first, and whether this is something you can address at your level, or you need to be addressed at a higher level, like maybe national or even the EU, Like if you had one example, each one of you, on really what makes it difficult to move forward. Starting maybe with you, Laura. We haven't heard you for a while.
Okay, we need more European laws. That's
Okay.
that bureaucracy. Sometimes, no, at the European level, bureaucracy, regulatory inconsistency, the disparity between the times of the regulations are approved in different states. For example, no, there is European regulations that are not transferred to the state. Or now we have disparities between Catalan and Spanish regulations. So that's a barrier now, no? That we have the lack of an Catalan waste law implies a barrier to biocirculated, and agents doesn't know what to do. So at a legal level, it's an important barrier in the face of the new bio-waste products. Also the lack of regulation of the byproducts. So maybe we need some, I would say, stronger regulations.
Or more harmonization between territories. Yes.
Yes, and at the European level, I think we need the more efficient collecting systems to be compulsory. I mean, or if it's not compulsory, at least to ban the open containers because they don't. I mean, they don't work. I mean, the purities of the bio-waste is really hard, and we need to have we have to improve the bio-waste, the quality of the bio-waste, and also the quantity collected. So.
And I think you mentioned also cost at some point, because improving collection system, moving from open container to smart container, it's an investment, or even door to door, it's more expensive. Is it something that you
it's
also
more it's more expensive, but to treat mixed waste is really expensive. So if we move to forward efficient collecting systems, and we can collect more bio waste and less mixed waste, that would decrease the cost, at least the cost of the treatment. So we need maybe to help to help the city councils to introduce these new systems and tell them that at some point they will reduce the cost, because they don't have to pay for the cost of the mixed waste.
And for the areas that implemented door to door, is it like, what did they expand? Did they experience an increase or
yes,
cost?
we are well, yes. Now I don't know. In the metropolitan area, we've got like two taxes now. One is a collection taxes, and another one is a treatment tax. So what is gonna happen? We thought that maybe the collection tax or the collecting system is gonna be more expensive, but they are gonna save money on the treatment part, and the AMB is gonna like give back this money to the city councils to put that money into the efficient systems. But of course, it's more expensive. It's much more expensive. Technologies are expensive. So maybe also Europe will have to subsidize all these new systems, as they do. I mean, the Catalan government also give subsidize some of these systems every year. But yeah, they are much more expensive.
Okay, thank you. Georgie, one major challenge that you think you still need to address?
Yeah, obviously we have a lot of challenges here in our region. As I mentioned, typical rural region. Going back to the educational sector, we have here just schools, kindergartens. We don't have any large universities here. Actually, we don't have at all universities. So I would mention here at our local and regional level, maybe the scientific challenge. For example, we do not have experience in initiatives and projects related to biochemicals. Obviously, maybe sharing also good practices in this area would help us, help our stakeholders a lot to take a decision and to go into this direction. Also, it turns out that although we have a large forest biomass stock, the energy production based on that resource is not optimized. Still, a lot of people are using the forest trees just like in regular burning stoves with very low efficiency instead of using contemporary technologies like modern heating boilers based on using pellets or wood chips, etc. So we really have a lot of challenges. It's not only one here, but participating in such projects like Biocircular Cities definitely provides us very specific inputs to our development.
Thank you. And Angelo, like, are we going soon to be able to eat some bread made out of coffee silver skin, or are there some key challenges?
It's very important to clarify the regulation at the level, every level, from European, Italian, and also regional, in particular for co-products. Because there is always a problem we have with the stakeholders. The problem is the interpretation of the law is not easy. Also from the public administration and also for the entrepreneur. This is always a problem. It's very important to clarify the regulation. Then it's important to improve also the more economic it's more funds to improving the quality and number of treatment plants. Always, this is always a problem to reduce in every kind of waste. And then focus. If we focus to silver skin, if it will became in the battery, it's important the chemical characterization now, because now the study is there, because there is always it's necessary the authorization to sell the final product. So this is always the problem, and then it's always important to share all the message of the project to population, to sensibilize all the people to this problem.
Okay. Maybe as follow-up activities, you all said that implementation is ongoing. Maybe you can share with us the next step. What are you going to do? Like, the project is ending in 3 weeks now. What are the key first steps that you will plan to do to follow up the activities, and what are you willing to capitalize on the project also for other activities? I think, Angelo, you mentioned something like that this approach could be replicated to other agro-food industries.
Yes, it's important to continue to the dialogue with the stakeholders and different types of industries. This is the next steps.
Okay. Laura, maybe we can move on with you. I think that the implementation of the new collection system is ongoing.
Yes.
Do you plan to have all the city covered in?
Well, we had a study of all the municipalities, and we had a diagnosis and proposed some new collective systems to all the municipalities, and now we are waiting for them to be implemented. We expected that maybe in 2 years or maybe less, some of the municipalities would implement some new systems. We wanted to be door to door, but maybe they're going to be more like mixed, that they use also smart bins and door to door, and some of them will use only smart bins. But yes, they know they have to change it at the end following this path, but we don't know where they're gonna do it. But we hope that before
Okay.
2025, we will have more people involved in that.
But soon then.
More municipalities. Yeah.
I know that we talked a lot in your case of citizen engagement, because obviously it's municipal waste and people have to sort their waste. They don't like changes in their collection system. Like, how do you plan to motivate the population? Maybe will you take advantage of the project outcome to do so?
Yes, we took advantage of the project, and we also were involved in another project and rethink waste, and we proved Kate, known as you throw, in one of the municipalities of the AMB, and we think that it could work also to nudge the population to change their habits, or to tell them that these new systems are much better than the old ones. So to give feedback of what they are putting on the bio waste bin, so that works. So maybe we will use KIT, and also we are going to introduce soon also pay as you throw system. As soon as they change the system, we're gonna bonify or the ones that use the separate the bio waste. So they're gonna return money to them. So yes.
Nice, thanks. Georgie, so the project is ending in 30 September. On the 1st of October, what do you plan to do for forestry residues then? What are your follow-up activities?
Yes, we are already at the final stage of the project. We already have some nice studies, some nice products from the project. Obviously, we want to continue working with our stakeholder group. It was already established. We already have the contacts. We already some nice debates here at local level with them. So we want to go into this direction with our two alternative scenario with the combined heat and power. We have some good examples even from Bulgaria, where other remote regions already implemented combined heat and power based on forest residues. It's very interesting. We can share experience with them. And but the other alternative scenario looks also very interesting to our community. It brings a lot of added value. We want to dig more into it. We want to find more best practices in this area and to communicate to our stakeholders. Also, very nice lessons learned from our partners in Barcelona and Naples. We want to transfer these lessons, especially related to municipal waste management, where they are much more advanced than us in regards to recycling and in regards to separate collection. So we learn from other regions, and we transfer these good practices also to our local community here in Pazardzhik.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Maybe last question, and then we'll see if there are some questions from the audience. But just a takeaway from the project, like if you have another territory asking you what to do to improve circular bioeconomy, like what kind of key advice you would give based on your experience on the project? Maybe start Georgie, and then we'll move to Angelo.
Yeah, my advice would be more general. It will not be related directly to forest residues or waste. Obviously, in order to initiate a public debate on a specific topic, could be some kind of environmental problem, could be bio-waste management improvement or something else, we should involve key actors from the whole identified chain. We should involve policymakers, producers, investors, civil organizations, representative research institutions, and all the others which are involved in the chain. We have to put somehow all these stakeholders some on the table and to initiate a discussion with them. Although sometimes they have totally controversial opinion, totally opposite opinions on some common topics. So we have to hear back from all of them and collect feedback from them. And when preparing strategy documents, it will be useful to put all these different stakeholders and collect feedback from them for a successful implementation of a strategy document. This is crucial. So from my point of view, this is a general recommendation to our today's participants.
Thank you. Angelo, the same question. Key advices.
Yes, very short answer. It's our project. It's innovative, so it shows how it's possible to obtain something to eat from waste. So it's important for us to continue to investigate in innovative technologies, innovative scenarios.
Okay, thank you. Laura, same question.
Yes,
Other cities?
for municipal waste, the best advice I think is to use other experience learning and not to lose time on finding sometimes innovative ways. Just use the experience that other cities have and don't lose time.
It's a nice advice. Thanks. Hopefully we could convince others to move forward.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, you three, for your contribution. I don't think I see any question from the chat, but many thanks for reflecting your journey. And maybe I see that Karin, the project coordinator, is here. Maybe she wants to say a word for the conclusion of the event. I give you the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much to the speakers. I really liked your summaries and I really appreciate all the work done, of course. And I think it's, yeah, for me personally, also the lessons learned from other projects and other territories are the most important part, actually, because also in this project now we have a couple of lessons learned which we want to share with other projects, and we also have synergetic projects we're in contact with. So why to study exactly the same scenario over and over again? So if we now come to the big conclusion, for example, for Barcelona, that open bins are a very bad idea, why not recommend it, for example, to Bulgaria and not to even think about introducing them? Like, so we're in Europe, we're in the EU, so we really should connect between regions, countries, and also maybe outside of the EU. So I think it's very nicely summarized from all of you. Thank you. And thanks to all the participants for being with us today, of course.
Yeah, thanks. And maybe for the final words and then follow up, I will leave the floor to Gael. And I want to thank you all for your participation. And Gael, I leave the floor for the final words.
Thank you, Jean-Benoit. The word is quite simple, actually. It's a little bit of a promotion. Of course, first, thank you to all speakers, participants. I hope it was insightful for everyone. And so my promotion is that in 2 weeks, so just right before the end of the month, right before the end of the project, we have the final event of Biocircularities. Biocircularities Unlock the. As it's indicated in the title, we'll go to Brussels, and there we will talk again a lot about circular bioeconomy. There will be 8 projects joining us, so great opportunity to network, to meet other people, to discover other tools, other activities. So of course, we're warmly inviting you to register and join us in Brussels. In case you can't make it, we will be web streaming the first part of the session, so the discussions. Of course, it means you'll be missing the networking possibilities, but at least you will be able to follow the discussion. So do not hesitate to register. We're adding the link in the chat. Registration are still open. And now, so it's time to close this event. I thank you a lot for your time, and I wish you a wonderful rest of the day. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye bye.